Hey guys, Ross here, and welcome back to the channel. Today's subject will be commander skills, or how I call them, captain skills in World of Warships. I will be going over everything from what skills you should be getting from the battleship down through the destroyer and including the carrier. So let's start this off. Now, each ship that you have will have a captain, or as they call it, a commander. Now, when you click on the commander, you'll see a whole bunch of skills. Now, these skills are, you earn skill points as you earn experience with your commander, and you can then spend these points in getting different skills. There's 5 tiers, tier 1 through 5, and you have to purchase one in each tier to get down to the next. So you have to buy one in tier 1, 2, 3, and then 4 to actually get to tier 5. So what I'll be going over is what ones you should be buying to get down to tier 5 and not have any wasted points, so you can get to tier 5 as soon as possible. Yes, you can always redistribute your points, so if you want to get all tier 1s and tier 2s until you have accrued enough points to get down to tier 5 and then spend the gold, you can do that. But if you don't want to spend the gold and you want to just do it, in my opinion, right the first time, you can go along with me here. So on the battleship, the very first one you should be getting is Basics of Survivability, which decreases the time it takes you to recover from flooding and on fire. This will help you out greatly as a battleship. The second tier will be Fire Prevention, and negative 7% chance to fire is very important because fire is one of the worst nightmares of a battleship, especially if you already put one out and then get put on fire again. Number 3 will be Superintendent, which gives you an additional charge for all consumables. And what consumables we are talking about here is Repair Party, which instead of 3 charges, you will have 4 per game. Which this is mighty important in my opinion. To stay alive in a battle and have that little clutch end where you have another repair will save you time and time again. Moving on to tier 4, for me, will definitely be Advanced Firing Training, which increases your AA firing distance by 20%. Now, you could argue that you might want to have the HE per shot, the 3% increase per shot, but in Battleship, more than likely than not, the most hits you'll get is about 50. You can get a little bit more than that. Sometimes you get lucky, you get 70, but 3% to each one of those shots is just not enough in my opinion. And also, you might want to have Last Stand, which you can maneuver when your engine is out or your steering is out, but the chances of that happening in a battleship are far less likely than, let's say, a destroyer. And then number 5 is the be-all of skills, is the Preventive Maintenance. Negative 34% chance of incapacitation of modules. So you won't have a main turret taken out, or maybe you'll have less AA taken out. If you have less of your anti-aircraft batteries taken out, that means that you can still defend yourself. And that is very important in my book. Moving on to cruisers. Cruisers can be twofold because you have light cruisers and heavy cruisers, and what that means is what armament you have. If you have a cruiser like the Atlanta here that has 120mm cannons, there's going to be different skills that you want than, let's say, a Des Moines, which has above 200mm. So if we go into here for something that has less than 155mm cannons, for their main armament, you want to take the Basic Fire Training, which is a 10% reload time to anything under 155mm. Moving on to tier 2 is Aiming Expert, which also increases your aiming speed 2.5 degrees per second to, again, anything under 155mm. Tier 3, once again, just like the Battleship, Superintendent, which gives you additional charge. This one's either for a spotting plane or for a sonar. And then tier 4 will be Advanced Firing Training, which is 20% increase to range for armament up to 155mm, plus your 20% to AA defensive firing range. And then tier 5, without a doubt, Preventive Maintenance, again, the negative 34% chance to incapacitation modules. But for the Lancet here, we go into the modules, we're talking about 20% increase to range and firing rate. So the firing rate, or 10% to firing rate, is 12 rounds. So now you're going to get 13 rounds per minute. And then your firing range is like a little 11.1, but add another 20% to that, that means that you're going to be firing at 13 kilometers. So a ship like this definitely pays off with those commander skills. Now, if you have a cruiser that's a heavy cruiser and has a bigger armament than 155, you might want to take, instead of the basics of survivability, And instead of the aiming expert, you might want to take, let's say, something like incoming fire alert, because long range fire from battleships could absolutely wreck you. But since you're in a cruiser and you have the good maneuverability, you can get out of the way and not get hit. Tier 3, I think, would stay the same, and Tier 4, I think, would stay the same just because the 20% increase of your AAA firing distance will definitely, for American cruisers, pay off in the long run. You could argue that you might want to take this last stand, which helps you maneuver when your engine is steering or steering is out, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of here nor there. But make sure that you're spending it in something that is actually worthwhile. I don't think Demolition Expert would be paying off in a Tier 4. Just like I don't necessarily think that the 20% increase to acquisition range of torpedoes is necessarily that important compared to other skills in that tier. Moving on to destroyers. Destroyers, just like cruisers, there's two different kinds that you would be having. The Sims is gunboat. So since it's a gunboat, you're going to want to take, not only all destroyers will want to take situational awareness at Tier 1, but Tier 2, you're going to want to take the increasing your aiming speed because you are a gunboat and you need to keep those guns on target. If you're a torpedo boat, like the high tier Americans or the Japanese, you might take the torpedo armament expertise, which decreases the reloading time of your torpedoes. Moving on to Tier 3, will again be superintendent because an additional charge for your smoke is very important, in my opinion. And then Tier 4 here for destroyers, without a doubt, last stand. Because if your steering or engine is out and you can still maneuver, means that as a destroyer, you can become undetected and then survive, repair, and get back into the fight. Tier 5, again, without a doubt, is preventive maintenance. You would want to have that negative 34% chance because on a Sims, again, as a gunboat, you want to keep your guns up. But as we all know, that guns on a Sims kind of go boom, and then they're never there again. So getting that is very important. Moving on to the Langley, which is my carrier, nice little carrier that I haven't used. But just to show you what you have as a commander skills in the carrier and which ones you should be getting. Tier 1 is going to be definitely Expert Rear Gunner, which is a 10% increase to the self-defense of your bombers and torpedo bombers. Tier 2 right here will be Torpedo Armament. Let's buy it right now since I have 2. And this is going to be my carrier for, captain forever. Which gives you a negative 10% to servicing time of torpedo bombers. And then basically we're just going to see this aircraft tree right here, and we're just going to get all of them in here. Now, the Tier 3 is Dogfighting Expert, which gives you an increase of combat performance of your fighters. The Tier 4 is a 5% increase to aircraft survivability and also a negative 10% to servicing time of all aircraft. So now torpedo bombers will be servicing 20% faster. And then Tier 5 is Air Supremacy, which gives you an additional fighter and additional bomber per squadron, which could be very useful in higher tier battles when your squadrons, you have more squadrons, especially as the Japanese, to get that additional one will be kind of devastating. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. Leave your comments below about what you think. If you think anything I said is wrong, or you think that maybe a different skill is worthwhile more than another. So, I mean, I definitely think my Battleship one is on par with exactly what you should be getting. But this doesn't mean that you are just locked into here. You can always, once you get to Tier 5, and then filling in different areas that you want. For my Americans, I would be definitely getting the extra increase to AA because I want to kill those planes as fast as possible. And then more than likely also High Alert, which gives me a 10% reload time on damage control. These things are going to be really important. And eventually I'll be filling in more and more because you can just earn unlimited experience with your captains. At least so far, it doesn't seem like there's any limit to what it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always though, I'm the Flying Ross, and I'll check you guys next time on the high seas.